Hi guys, today's Tuesday when this will be posted. This is a weird little thing that I don't think I was ever taught this. This is something my own little brain came up with, and I'm just curious about other people and what you guys thought, or if you ever had this kind of thought. So for those who have never been Mormon or don't know, we have the Book of Mormon. The whole basis is that the Book of Mormon was written by various people, various prophets that started with a family, Nephi and his family, his father Lehi, his two older brothers, Laman and Lemuel, who were kind of the bad guys, the antagonists, and his older brother Sam, who was more of a good guy. And from there, a lot of people where they made these brass plates and gold plates, and they handed them down generation to generation, and kept a record. They came from Jerusalem, and the whole premise of the Book of Mormon is that it was the Lamanites, which would have been like the descendants of Laman and Lemuel, versus the Nephites, who were Nephi's descendants, and the Nephites were white and delightsome, white-skinned. The Nephites, or the Lamanites, were the bad guys. It kind of switches around. It's sometimes the Nephites are good and bad, and sometimes they're bad, vice versa. But by the end of it, the Lamanites wipe out the Nephites, who are the white people. Because white people apparently came from Jerusalem. That's the whole premise. And then they wipe out the Nephites, and so the Lamanites are all that's left. And there's one last white dude named Moroni who carries these plates all over North America, so the United States, where we're at right now, carries these plates around, buries them in a hill called Cumorah, and then eventually, and they're made of gold. And the Lamanites are hunting him down. The Lamanites are the Native Americans. That has been the premise, of course. Genealogy, like DNA, has proven that this is not true. That the Lamanites are not they are not the Native Americans. They did not come. The Native Americans do not come from Jerusalem. They do not have DNA that matches anything from the Middle East. And so, anyway, it's been disproven that that is true. But that's the premise of the Book of Mormon, is that the Lamanites are Native Americans in the Book of Mormon. This one white guy who was a descendant also from Nephi brought it, put them in the mountain, and Joseph Smith was shown where the plates are in the mountain. He took them, he translated them. Really, that's all complicated too. He didn't translate them from a book, he translated them from a magic rock in a hat. It's bizarre. It is so bizarre. Anyway, not stuff Mormons are taught. Not stuff we're taught, but that's the truth of it. Anyway, it's not even true. Like I say, that's the truth of it. It's not true. It's just it's the story. Okay, that's the background. Anyway, so that's where the Book of Mormon comes from. And so we are taught, nowadays we have one prophet. And right now that's Russell M. Nelson. And there's one prophet on the earth, and we only need one prophet because he can speak to everybody. But back in the days of the scriptures, of the Bible and stuff like that, there were lots of prophets on every continent and stuff, because they didn't have social media, they didn't have TV, they didn't have newspapers, they didn't communicate and everything. So they needed to have multiple people to talk to God in order to spread the gospel. So I had this idea, like all growing up and everything, like, we have the gold plates. We don't have them, actually. They don't exist. Apparently, Moroni, the angel, came, and a resurrected angel being, by the way, he came and took them away, took them to heaven. So we don't actually have the gold plates. We do have the rock, though, that Joseph used to translate or receive revelation or whatever about what the Book of Mormon says. Anyway, we have those records, or we got the Book of Mormon through the gold plates because prophets on this continent kept records and then they buried them somewhere. And I always thought, if there are prophets here and we have the Book of Mormon now, maybe there could be records somewhere else. Oh, and by the way, another little tidbit is that a portion of the Book of Mormon was sealed, meaning it couldn't be opened and couldn't be translated. It was like sealed together, so there was you couldn't get into it. We don't know what that says. And the prophecy and what's supposed to happen is that the last days we're supposed to get the rest of that Book of Mormon. It's supposed to be translated, and we're supposed to be awed by what's in it. So I don't know. The original Book of Mormon stuff is not really that awe-inspiring, so I can't fathom what anybody thinks is in the book, the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon. Anyway, so that's interesting, but I always thought, I wonder if there are other plates, other things on other continents where there were prophets that did the same thing and generations that did the same thing. If God talked to a prophet here on American lands, maybe there's somebody clear up in Canada, or maybe there's somebody in China, or maybe there's somebody in, like maybe there are generations that kept plates also, or kept plates because supposedly God instructed Nephi how to make the plates and how to keep the brass plates as they went, and then they were transferred to gold plates because gold wouldn't rust, gold wouldn't, disappear, whatever. Anyway, so they were instructed by God. So I would assume that if God instructed these people here how to do that, maybe there could be other records somewhere else. And I wondered, why don't we need those records? Maybe we just don't need, maybe they say the same kind of things and it's just not necessary, and that's why nobody's found them or whatever. Anyway, it's just a silly little thought process. There's no basis. Like I said, I really don't think that I was ever taught anything like that. I think this was just my own little brain where I was like, I wonder if there's other, other records out there somewhere buried in some mountain. I don't believe that now. I think that it's all a fraud. I don't think that anymore, but it's interesting. And I'm curious about, has anybody else ever had that kind of a thought? Has anybody else ever wondered about what other records or what other prophets there may have been on this planet when you were a true believing Mormon? Anyway, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and Think Terrestrial. Talk to you later.